doing things that ultimately are going to cause other people some sort of harm, whether they can't sleep or whether their property is damaged or whatever. As long as people avoid doing those things, they're not going to have any difficulty here. Everybody knows what the rules are. Nobody should have to be told that one should not urinate on someone else's yard, or one should not break down their fence to get through just because it's a shortcut. Everybody knows that's wrong. And we're going to try to make sure that those people who choose to use a different set of standards for their behavior will be called on the carpet for that.
Now, do you think some of these behaviors are a result of the lack of activities the campus and community has to offer?
First of all, I would say I don't agree with that premise that there's a lack of opportunities here.
Okay.
I think there are all kinds of interesting things for students to do. What they have to do is broaden their sense of what that means. There are all kinds of musical events going on all the time. There are all kinds of programs going on. I've often thought it a little disingenuous to say, well, there's nothing to do here. Well, that may say more about the people making that complaint than it may say about how many things there are to do here. Plus, there are how many different clubs and organizations are there? There's all kinds of things to do here, not only at nights but on the weekends. And to imply that somehow we have to entertain people in order for them to avoid doing these kinds of behaviors. Well, I don't buy that argument at all. They're adults, my goodness. Everybody who goes to school here virtually is an adult. Everybody knows the rules. We just need them to abide by them.
But don't you feel like within the community the stress you see is only on 2nd Street? Like that is the most promoted activity. So obviously it promotes alcohol consumption. And do you feel like alcohol...
Who's promoting that?
Well, the community, that's the only...
Oh, no, well, the community's not promoting
Well, no, not the whole community.
The tavern owners and whatnot.
Right.
And you're touching on some issues that are underlying issues throughout our culture. I mean, binge drinking, alcohol consumption. I mean, when I went to school here in the mid-'80s, the issue was there's nothing to do on campus. This is a suitcase college. You have the same complaints now, and largely, to echo what Mike has said, the issue is an underlying lack of respect, not the fact that there aren't activities to engage in. It's just that you got to channel your energies in an appropriate way. And to take it a little bit further, we probably have not done as good a job as we needed to do to try and curtail some of these activities. At some point, it became almost an expectation that even though these activities are inherently wrong, people expected the fact that they would receive a warning, and now, without changing it in any way, if you don't have the carrot and the stick, I mean, we have to have consequences for these behaviors, and that's what we're doing with these citations.
Now, there's a lot of behaviors, too, that are being introduced into the situation that haven't been seen before as often, especially with theft. Theft has been a big behavior lately that's been happening.
And instead of theft, I would say more so thefts from vehicles and actually burglaries to residences. And anybody that at any level feels that that's appropriate, I don't know what planet they're from.
Exactly.
And that boils down to, again, lack of respect. I don't know, you could even say the economy playing some role in people trying to supplement their incomes in a very inappropriate manner. But that's been a behavior that has never been tolerated.
Anytime you have a community that experiences a growth pattern, you have potentially an adjustment period. We welcome students. I don't even like to think of students as guests in this town because they're residents. They're here with everyone else. They're part of our community, and they're part of what makes this a cool place to live. And interestingly, I think a lot of people will find out someday after they've left Platteville, they're going to wish that they could come back here because they're going to remember what it's like to walk down a sidewalk and see people you know, or walk into a store and the person knows you, and have professors that call you by name, and they'll realize just how special a place this is. Our concern is that we not lose that as we grow, and so we're going to have to be sure that the expectations are clear. We do have some individuals, and again, I don't want to paint with too broad a brush here because when I look out of my classes, I don't see this very much, but there are
Right.
the odd individual here and there who, when they get away from home, suddenly no longer seems to have the normal reticence in their behavioral choices as they would if they lived in the same town as their parents and people who knew them. They come to Platteville. It's not clear that people necessarily know them, and so there doesn't seem to be the social consequence. Someone had a great comment at the meeting. I'm still trying to think about this. They said, just like we send press releases home to students, home newspapers
Right.
when they are on the dean's list, maybe we should also be sending home when they're in the police report as well, so that people can see both sides. And if, in fact, students realize their behavior in Platteville would be well known back home, my guess is a lot would think twice about that. And we'd like them to consider this their hometown too, and to treat what happens here is analogous to what would happen in their own hometown. And in fact, if students know something is happening that's wrong, or if people are doing something that besmirches the reputation of all, we'd like to know about it, because frankly, a relatively small number of students is currently damaging the reputation of all students.
Right.
It's not fair to them that the people who are doing what they're supposed to do day after day don't have to think about it, don't need any warnings. They're model citizens, and they're wonderful additions to our community. It's the other students that, or whoever is doing this, because we don't necessarily know they're students, but given the area in which it occurs and the percentage of students in there, we're probably guessing that's what it is. They're sending a message that says all students are like this, when that is not, in fact, the case. And we would certainly love to have other students step up and say, this is not acceptable. This sends a message that we're something we're not, and that they begin to help us keep this community a pleasant place to live, where we have a better view of what's going on in terms of not only crimes such as were listed here, but the other ones that can be more serious ones. And frankly, controlling some of the apparently less damaging behavior helps us control the more damaging behaviors. There's a theory called the broken windows theory that essentially says when you have a community that has much disorder, it's not clear where the lines are, and people step over them or actively try to see if they can get away with things. Well, that makes it a bad place for everyone to live.
Right.
And we don't want that to occur, and we want everyone to have a happy and safe experience here, and we enjoy having them here. We want to make sure that they enjoy being here as well.
Now, like you said, there is a small majority of students who partake in this behavior.
Oh, just a small group. I wouldn't
Right.
say majority.
Right, sorry. There's a small...
I don't think it's a majority
yeah,
at all.
I know.
And that's the problem, is that the majority of students are painted with the same brush, and we need to be careful we don't